Hey, this is Mike the Run Testers, and this is our multi-tester comparison looking at how the Saucony Endorphin Elite compares to the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3.
So here's the key details you need to know about the Saucony Endorphin Elite and the Endorphin Pro 3. The Elite is priced at £280 or $275 in the US, while the Pro 3 comes in cheaper at £210 and $225 in the US. Both shoes have an 8mm drop, with the Elite coming in at 40mm at the heel and 32mm at the forefoot. The Pro 3 measures in at 39.5mm at the heel and 31.5mm at the forefoot. Upperwise, Saucony uses mesh on the Pro 3 and a mix of knit and mesh on the Elite, with both including Power Run PB sock liners. Saucony uses Power Run PB foam, while the Elite uses a new Power Run HG foam to provide more rebound and make it better suited for racing. There's carbon plates in both of these shoes, with one packed into the Elite designed to create a more propulsive feeling. Saucony also uses its speed roll geometry across both shoes, with an aggressive version used on the Elite. Saucony uses different versions of its XT900 outsole on the Elite and the Pro 3, with the Elite featuring a lighter version to keep the overall weight of the shoe down.
So the fit for me in the Saucony Endorphin Elite, I would say true to size. It's a race shoe, so it's a little bit restrictive around the midsection at the top of the shoe, but quite a bit of space in the toe box. I definitely would stay true to size in that. The Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 is one of the most comfortable shoes that I have tried when it comes to race day, and I definitely stay true to size in this as well.
On the fit of the shoes, both of these are true to size for me. I've had no problems with them at all. They're comfortable shoes in terms of the fit. So yeah, no concerns from me, true to size in both shoes.
So fit for me in Endorphin Elite and the Endorphin Pro 3, I would say go true to size based on UK size 8 in both of these shoes. I think maybe you're getting a little bit more accommodating fit on the Endorphin Pro 3, but I don't think there's a massive amount on it. On the Endorphin Elite, obviously you're getting a mix of mesh and knit in the upper, which I think kind of holds the foot in place a little bit more in comparison to the kind of mesh upper on the Endorphin Pro 3. And you've got this extra bit of padding in the heel, again, to really kind of hold your foot or keep your foot in a very clear position, I think, in this shoe as well. But ultimately, in terms of space, in terms of fit for me, I would go true to size based on my testing.
Fit then, well, I ran true to size, UK 8.5 in both the Saucony Endorphin Pro and the Endorphin Elite. That's exactly what I would recommend. I think they both fit true to size. The other thing I will say, and it made a sort of difference, I feel like there's a little bit more room in the toe box of the Elite, ever so slightly.
So the run test. Now this is an interesting one, because if you watch the channel, you'll know that I'm probably one of the biggest fans of the Endorphin Pro 3 that's out there. I've talked about it many times. Over the course of 2022, I got pretty much all of my PBs apart from one in this shoe, and I just loved it. I did a lot of training in it. I did Chicago Marathon in it and got my 2:55 marathon time when my previous one was 3:15, and I did it all in this shoe. And it was just because it was so natural feeling and comfortable, but also felt very fast as well. It's basically the perfect shoe for me. I like a lot of cushioning, I like a bit of bounce, but I do like a natural feeling shoe. The Saucony Endorphin Elite is an interesting one, because when we heard about this shoe, it's sort of a continuation of the Pro 3, or so I would have thought from hearing about the shoe, the Elite. When we got it, I was very excited, because if I found it better and faster than the Pro 3, it was going to be an amazing shoe for me to use. However, it's not really the same sort of shoe as the Pro 3. It's not really a progression of the Pro 3. It's not really a modification of the Pro 3. It's almost a completely different carbon plate racing shoe to the Pro 3. And that's because the Pro 3 is soft. It doesn't really push your foot into a specific type of motion. It just lets you run how you want to run and really helps you to do that. It's a very natural feeling shoe. And because of that, it's a very accessible shoe for a lot of runners. So whether you're going at a sort of a slower pace, or if you're an elite going for a fast time, it can do most of those things, and it's good at different distances as well. Could even use it as a training shoe, because it does well at slower paces. It's a very versatile shoe. The Elite isn't a versatile shoe. It's a shoe designed, as you guessed by the name, for very fast runners. It's a shoe that comes into its own when you're going all out and you're trying to get a fast time. And the feel of the shoe is very different from the Pro 3, because It is quite aggressive. It sort of holds your foot and moves it in a position that it wants you to move it in. So a little bit like how the Vaporfly sort of propels you forward. But I would say that this the Elite is not quite the same as the Vaporfly. The Vaporfly's got a softer, bouncier feel to it than this. This is much firmer in comparison to those shoes, and also it's just sort of delivers really well when you're going full pelt. But if you slow down in it, I don't enjoy this shoe. It just doesn't seem to be built for that, which is probably completely true. If you've got a shoe called the Elite, you're probably not going to go running slow, easy day runs in it. But as an elite race shoe or a fast race shoe, I think it's very good. I think you can really go fast in this shoe. But for me, it just doesn't have the natural feel of the Pro 3, and I don't enjoy wearing it as much. I think I could probably at a push get a faster time between like 5 and 10k, maybe half marathon distance in this shoe, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much. I didn't enjoy the experience when I was racing a 10k in it as much as I do in the Pro 3, just because it felt a little bit awkward on my feet, and not massively in a bad way. It didn't feel uncomfortable. It just felt like it was pushing me forward and sort of making me run faster, but not necessarily in a way that I would normally do, where the Pro 3 doesn't do that. The Pro 3 just supports the way that you want to run and just feels very comfortable in doing it. So two very different types of shoes, both very good for what they do. Pro 3 is still my favourite complex shoe out at the moment. But the Elite, I think, it's a little bit more niche, and it's a little bit more focused towards those people who want to go really fast.
So I love the Endorphin Pro 3. I did well over 200k in it last year, using it for lots of training runs, a couple of short races, and the London Marathon, which I ran at a relaxed pace the week after Berlin with Gill. And I think it's just a tremendous all-round shoe. It's really comfortable, but really light, really quick, lovely, smooth, effortless rocker ride to it, and just think it was a huge step up from what we've seen from Saucony before as their top-end racer, and it really was a big hit with all of us here at the Run Testers, it's fair to say. One of the things that really, I think, made it stand out a bit was actually it was quite a relaxed ride. So you can use it for racing. It's going to be a really good racing shoe, but you actually could use it for lots of training as well. It was almost a great all-rounder whilst still being a lightning fast racing shoe. The only concerns I had with it, that it softened up a bit over time, and my pair just, I think, lost a bit of their punch after around 100k, something like that. Also wasn't the best performer in the wet, I found. I tend to get a bit mushy and really soaked up a lot of water, which is surprising. Now, the Endorphin Elite comes out this year, and it is different to the Pro 3 in terms of the ride. It is punchier, it's firmer, it's got a much more aggressive roll forward, really launches you onto your toes and helps you punch forward on the run really well. Like, you know, it's closer to how the Pro 3 felt straight out the box, and then it softened a bit over time, relaxed the ride, and I prefer the firmer feel of the Elite when it comes to all-out racing, that's for sure. It's just really quick and efficient, and it doesn't really take any prisoners. It's really forcing you to run in a certain way, it feels like, and it can be a bit of a harsh ride, but it's undoubtedly quick. Like, I've raced a 10k in it recently. I'm really pleased how that went. Ran a 33.41 on a pretty blowy course by myself in second. Did a park run in it as well and performed really well there, although it was a bit icy there, and it is very slick on the ice, and I think actually fair, lots of shoes were slick that day, but Pro 3 probably has very slightly better grip, but it's not going to be a big deal breaker. Really have enjoyed using the Elite, and I think just when I want that fast feeling for very fast training sessions or races, it does provide it better than the Pro 3. It's a more aggressive shoe, and I do appreciate that, but at the same time it loses little of the charm of the Pro 3 by being less comfortable, and it's less good for just mooching around or doing warm-ups and cool down, which isn't a big problem. These are racing shoes, you want them to be at their best for racing, but I think what it does lose is a little bit of the comfort of the Pro 3, which would come into play, I think, on longer runs. I've did a couple of 20 miles in the shoe and the marathon, and it's always been really comfortable. It's got a really nice feel under the forefoot, whereas this feels so much more snappy and aggressive. You feel the plate a bit more. I think for some people it's going to be too harsh to look at those longer races. The longest I've gone up to it is 21k. It's kind of been okay, but actually at the end of that 10k race, I did have a little bit of kind of foot fatigue. It's like, because it is quite prescriptive almost in the way it's forcing you to run, and that I think can be a bit tiring on the foot. But at the same time, it is helping you perform at your best. So it's a bit of a toss-up there. It's just not going to be quite as effortless in the way it feels as the Pro 3. And then one quick note on the performance in the wet. I did a very, very wet track session in this shoe, and it doesn't seem to soak up as much water as I found with the Pro 3, which got a bit mushier. So that's one little bonus if you're racing on a wet day.
So into the run test, and I have done over 50k in the Endorphin Elite, but I haven't raced in this shoe. In the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, I've done significantly more. On top of the testing we did for our reviews, I have run a marathon in this as well, so I've done a fair amount more mileage in the shoe. Now, based on the runs that I've done, these are two shoes that feel great to run quick in, but they deliver those kind of sensations very, very differently. I think on the Endorphin Elite, definitely a more aggressive feeling. You're getting a slightly firmer feel as well in terms of what it's like to run in this shoe. It really gets you up on your toes in a very aggressive manner. It's a little bit firmer as well, but I think it's good firm ultimately for me. Whereas I think with the Endorphin Pro 3, it feels a little bit softer, a little bit more accommodating, a lot more stable than the Endorphin Elite. But for me, I feel like this feels a little bit nicer to run longer in. I had a couple of little kind of question marks over the Endorphin Elite when I've run a little bit longer in it. Some slight discomfort. It definitely, when it wants you to run very quickly, consistently through those runs. That's what it's built for. It's built for running at your quickest. Whereas I think with the Endorphin Pro 3, you've got those elements from Saucony that makes it a good shoe to run quick in. But also, I think if you have to ease off, it feels like a nicer shoe to do that in ultimately. And I've run shorter stuff in this and it's felt great. I've run a marathon distance and it's felt great as well. Whereas I think on the longer runs that I've done in Endorphin Elite so far, I've had question marks whether I'd want to run in it on those longer distances. But the shorter stuff, it's felt great. And I think these are two shoes that are very good to run quick in. The other things I would kind of mention, obviously outsole's very different in terms of what you're getting here. The grip on the outsole of the Endorphin Pro 3 is very, very strong. I've been really, really impressed with it. I think it's one of the better outsoles that you're getting in those kind of top end kind of performance shoes. On the Endorphin Elite, I think it's absolutely fine if you're sticking to those kind of flat, kind of straight roads, kind of what you would be running on, in races, mainly. I think the durability level, I think you'll definitely getting a lot more outsole here on the Endorphin Pro 3. I've done a lot more running in this shoe and the outsole was held up pretty well. The cushioning still feels pretty good and that midsole feels pretty good as well. I'm already seeing a little bit of wear on the Endorphin Elite, particularly kind of here the sides of the foam as well. Similar to what I've seen in the Asics Matter Speed Sky and my kind of running in it. It's definitely one you save for those kind of training at race pace, race day ultimately. Whereas I think with the Endorphin Pro 3, I think you can manage to, it can handle a lot more training runs and kind of be used for race day as well. And I think you're going to get a good level of durability, particularly when you look at the other kind of top end kind of performance shoes as well. So yeah, in terms of that run test, two shoes that are very nice to run quick in. I think one clearly is a lot more stable. That would be the Endorphin Pro 3 in comparison to the Endorphin Elite. This definitely feels a lot more aggressive. The midsole definitely feels a little bit firmer than the Endorphin Pro 3, but I don't think it's too firm. And if you stick to running quick in it, it feels great, energetic, lively to run in. You can get the same feeling, I think, in the Endorphin Pro 3, but I think for a lot more people, this is going to appeal. It's going to be a lot more accessible, a lot more accommodating for a lot more runners, whereas I think these are definitely built for those very, very quick runners based on my testing.
Now, I've done 50 miles in both of these shoes. The furthest I've gone in the Endorphin Pro 3 is a half marathon race distance. I actually did a solo marathon test in the Elite. That was at marathon pace, but not in a marathon race, organised race. I went out and did it solo on my own. But I have put these through all kinds of different paces, ranges. All of that's been on tarmac and on road mainly. And I've tested them similarly with kind of slow paces, sort of interval sessions, all out kind of stuff. I've also done a side-by-side mile in both of these shoes just to see how they compare, and here is what I found. So I've just completed a mile with the Saucony Endorphin Pro on the left foot and the Saucony Endorphin Elite on the right foot. 1 mile mixture of paces. And again, like the first things I like to do is draw immediate conclusions from this, or at least those immediate sensations that you get. The first is, although the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 is a high stacked max cushion shoe, super shoe with a carbon plate, it feels flatter and a little bit firmer and a little bit kind of more stable than the Endorphin Elite. Unsurprisingly, you've got a higher stack underfoot on the Endorphin Elite, which is going to try and give you some more of that spring and work with that changed up kind of carbon plate construction to give you more response and spring effect. And I think you do get that for sure in the Endorphin Elite. This is a more springy shoe. I think it's going to be a punchier shoe. So one thing I've noticed on the Endorphin Elite is there's a little bit of rollout towards the outside on the heel. Not quite as pronounced as you find on things like the Adios Pro 3, but it's there nevertheless compared to the Endorphin Pro 3, which is a much more kind of flat base underfoot overall. Upper wise, not a lot to choose here. They're both comfortable. I think there's a marginally more room for me in the toe box of the Elite. It feels bigger and roomier, slightly higher above the top of the toes as well as in the length, even though I'm running in an 8.5 in both of these shoes. Perhaps a slightly tighter kind of lockdown fit across the midfoot in the Endorphin Pro 3. Which one of these I think is the punchiest, and which one is it's got to be the Endorphin Elite for me. So now there's definitely less stability, more wobble in the Endorphin Elite than the Pro 3. So if you like a race shoe, a carbon kind of super shoe race shoe that's got a little bit more stability, then maybe the Pro 3 is still going to suit you better, with an ever so slightly firmer ride and a slightly more controlled kind of stable ride than the Elite. So I think there are differences in the way these shoes run. I think the Elite do offer more kind of pop, more propulsion, more energy, slightly than I found the Endorphin Pro 3 a little bit duller. Now I know some of the other run tests in the video have also said that they're not really sure that they would fancy running a marathon in the Elite. I've done that and I found them absolutely perfectly fine. I'd be more than happy to race a marathon in these. Now perhaps you're going to swap a little bit of comfort and a little bit of that kind of protection that you might get over a marathon distance if you go for the Elite over the Pro 3. But for me, I'm perfectly happy to race a marathon in the Elite.
Okay, so my verdict on these two shoes, you've probably guessed. I think the Pro 3 is the most versatile shoe for everyone. So if you're looking for a race shoe and you're doing anything from 5k to marathon distance, then you can't go wrong with the Pro 3. It's just very comfortable, very nice, and there's not really, I almost call it a flawless shoe in how it delivers for those runs, because you can even do easy slow runs in this, and it doesn't feel wrong that you're doing an easy slow run in this shoe. So I think this is a superior shoe when it comes to versatility, and more people can access this shoe and enjoy it and use it for racing. I think the Endorphin Elite is a shoe designed with a specific purpose. It's a bit more of a niche shoe, and it's very good at that. If you're a fast runner that wants an aggressive, firmer, responsive ride, I think the Elite is a very good shoe for that. And I'd probably say I could run faster if push came to shove in this than the Pro 3, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much. So Pro 3, if you're a general runner or any type of runner that's looking for a good carbon plate shoe that's comfortable and very natural, Saucony Endorphin Elite if you want a really fast shoe and you're less bothered about comfort, you're more bothered about speed and just really pushing your foot into the position that this shoe wants you to do to go fast.
So on pure performance, I'm picking up one of these two shoes to go and try and set a PB on race day. I would go for the Elite. I do prefer the firmer, punchier feel you get from it, the more aggressive roll through. It really does feel like a very efficient shoe and a fast shoe that you can use for any distance because it is still quite lightweight. So I really enjoy doing 5k and 10k in it, and it's something I'm looking forward to doing longer races in. Looking at the kind of bigger picture, the Pro 3 comes into play a little bit more because this is still a very good racing shoe for all distances. It's also a comfortable shoe to use for training, and certainly when you're doing your speedy training, it performs really, really well. And it's just so much cheaper. Like £280 is a huge. I know at RRP this is more expensive, is 225 odd, but the truth is this was in sales for £125 recently. If you're looking at that kind of money, that kind of difference in price, I would still be getting the Pro 3. It's a tough sell with the Elite because I do think it's a fantastic shoe, but it's a huge price. And we've talked about it in the review, comparing it to loads of other shoes, but just comparing it to the Pro 3, I'd probably rather have the Pro 3 for a lot less. It's a much more accommodating shoe. It's a friendlier shoe. I think actually over a marathon, I'm still not entirely sure how I'd enjoy the Elite because of that firmer ride, whereas the Pro 3, I know for sure it can do that marathon really well, even when running at a reasonably brisk pace. So yeah, it's a tough toss-up, but if you've got the money, you're just looking for performance, the Elite, I think, is Saucony's best racing shoe ever. If you're looking at the bigger picture, want a shoe that's a bit more capable to use a bit more regularly, maybe a little bit more comfortable, and isn't £280, then I get the Pro 3.
Now, if we put price to one side and we made a selection just based on performance, then I personally would pick the Elite over the Endorphin Pro 3 for racing almost any distance from the 5k up to the marathon. I think there's just more energy and more pop, and I find the Pro 3 just slightly duller. Now, I'd split it this way. If you're looking for a slightly less aggressive, slightly more conservative, slightly more protective race shoe, then I would go for the Endorphin Pro 3. And I think the Pro 3 also has some other benefits, which is it's possibly a better shoe for kind of doing more regular kind of training in as well. But if you're after the most punch out of each step and money is no object, then I think the Elite edge it on performance very, very marginally. And for me, it's a faster, better shoe. However, once you factor in that price, I think everything changes here. I don't think there's really enough difference in the way that these shoes perform if you're talking about all-out kind of energy and propulsion to warrant a £70 extra spend. And as I said, I think you're going to get a slightly more versatile, usable shoe in the Pro 3. So if I was spending my own money for that reason, I think for value and versatility, I think the winning shoe out of these two matchups has to be the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3.
The Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 and the Elite 3, same line, very different shoe. Same drop, 8mm. The Elite is 193 grams in my size 7. The Pro 3 is 199 grams, so not that much difference. The Pro is slightly heavier. Both 39.5 to 31.5 millimeters, 8 millimeter drop, as I said. But the Pro 3s just feel so normal compared to the Endorphin 3s. The heel collar is normal. They're, you know, even more easier to put on. They are less. They are more stable, so the Elites are less stable just because of that kind of feeling of height, even though I know there isn't. But that said, when I was training in the Elites, I didn't find that stability was an issue, but the name is right. I think this is an Elite shoe, and I wonder how well the Power Run HG foam will fare compared to the Power Run PB. It feels like it might wear a bit faster. I felt like my feet were quite tired after wearing the Elites, whereas the Pro 3s, I feel like I could wear them kind of every day and it wouldn't be a problem. I think they're probably better value for money from that point of view as well. And I feel like the rocker is more pronounced, weirdly, in the Pro 3s, despite that kind of huge, you know, tick up in the front of the Elites. So I think on balance, the Pro 3 is a more reliable and sensible choice for people. But if you've got some cash to splash and you want to try something a bit out there, which is probably the most different shoe we've had since, I guess, the Alpha Fly, then, you know, this is a really interesting prospect.
So my verdict on the Saucony Endorphin Elite versus the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 is that these are two shoes that are very nice to run quickly in. What I would say is that this one is definitely what I would say is built for those very, very fast runners, those people that are running kind of elite level times. I think you are the people that are going to best benefit from these shoes. I do also think that it feels better as a shorter kind of distance shoe based on my testing, whereas with the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, I still think this is a shoe that's great to run quick in, but I do think it's more accommodating for people who are not running at those kind of elite level or very quick kind of paces. And I also think if you are easing off in a run a little bit, or you have to ease off for whatever reason, it's a lot more stable than the Endorphin Elite based kind of on my testing. I think also you're getting something with the Endorphin Pro 3 that's a lot more versatile than the Elite personally. I think if you want to run a little bit slower in a shoe, kind of coasting it, if you want to do some kind of training sessions in it, if you're looking for something a little bit more durable in terms of those kind of top end kind of performance shoes, then this definitely feels better suited for those things. If you're just looking for something that's quicker, wants you to kind of run at your quickest, then that's what you're going to get from the Endorphin Elite. Now obviously they are in totally different price ranges. This was over £200 when it first launched. It's not anymore. The Endorphin Elite obviously just launched. It's £280. It is not cheap. If it was me personally, if I was choosing a shoe between these two, I would be going for the Endorphin Pro 3. If this was kind of a similar price and I was looking for something to only use for kind of shorter distances, kind of for race day, I was just saving it for those reasons, and you know, I would happily use this shoe. But I think this is more versatile. This is a shoe that you can run quick in if you want to. You can run and kind of do easier kind of training runs in this as well, and it absolutely excels on that front as well. So it really boils down to if you want something very specifically to run very, very quick, you like that more aggressive feel in that kind of ride, that's what you get in the Endorphin Elite. The Endorphin Pro 3, you can still run fast in this. You know, maybe it doesn't have that super kind of pop that you get on this shoe, but it is still very good to run quick. And I've run some nice quick times, and I've run a reasonably kind of quick marathon, or done some kind of quick training sessions in this Endorphin Pro 3, and I'd be happy to run in this. And I think a lot of people would be happy to run it in the shoe and train it as well. So yeah, both very quick shoes, but if it was me personally, I would go with Endorphin Pro 3. Maybe wait to see the Endorphin Elite comes down in price, and there may be more justification to go for this and use it kind of race day when you want to run at your quickest. Okay, so there you have it. That is our take on how the Saucony Endorphin Elite compares to the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. Now, I'm sure you have got a lot of questions for us, so do let us know in the comments as always. Please like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.